Thank you all for being here this morning. We're going to start with the flag salute, followed by a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us here together safely. Please guide our words as we have an open and honest conversation for what's best for the Lake community and the community at whole. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Dean. We're going to start out with roll call. Dean Stryler.
Here.
Shane Wood. Deb McCoy. Harold Martin. Dave Stewart.
Here.
Nancy Mays is here. If I could, I'd like for you to at least glance over or read the minutes from the last meeting, and I would take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 10th.
Do I hear a second?
I second. Second. Shane with the Shane.
Good morning, Shane.
Hey, Nancy. Hey, this is just a conference call. It's not a Zoom call, right? Correct.
Yes. Shane, we have a motion to accept the minutes from December 10th. I would like, let's just do an all in favor, right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are looking to expedite things. Our first order of business is to elect a new chairperson for this committee. As most, if not all, know, Nancy Van Etten has resigned and moved to Lake Gunnersville, Alabama. So I would entertain motions from the committee for someone to approve, or someone to replace, although it's impossible, I think, to replace Nancy. She did a wonderful job as chair of this committee. Her time and dedication was beyond anything most of us would be willing to
Yeah,
do.
I'll second that for sure.
Yeah,
She took it serious.
yeah, she did.
Third.
Gotta go first.
Roll call. Dean Stryler.
Let's do it.
All in favor, aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you for your confidence. You really need to know. I can't be at every county commission, city commission meeting like Nancy was able to. I mean, she really did it. So I hope I don't disappoint you in carrying this role.
And before we take a bunch more votes, I don't think as the liaison, I probably don't vote, right?
Right.
Okay, so I keep voting. I shouldn't.
That's
be voting.
okay.
Okay.
We
I'm trying to fit in, guys.
at the end of the day, we just put a mark through those. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the main order of business today is to discuss the potential sale of 4 lake lots. And the lots are to be located on the west side. So I believe we need some discussion on what are our thoughts on selling more lots, period. And they did, on the board over here, and Mayor, if you wouldn't mind kind of going through, these are the items identified by the Smart Growth Committee as things we would like to see done with the money from the sale of the first 4 lots. Here, you can use mine. Yes. Yes.
And I may be totally out of the loop, but have the sales of the first 4 lots all been completely executed?
That's a good question, Shane. Can you answer that?
Yeah, the answer would be no on that. To have
4 lots have actually been completely sold and are owned by somebody other than the city.
that would be 2 lots at the 2 lots at the north end of the lake, Shane. The two on the south, the sale has been canceled, and we're going to review offers at Tuesday's meeting.
Review new offers?
Yes.
Was that made, was the public made aware that those sales had fallen through and that they were back on the market?
Yeah. Do what? Yes. Yeah, it's been made public. Hasn't it been made public, baby?
I didn't know it was made. It doesn't matter to me. I didn't know it was public knowledge that, hey, these two lots have fallen through and now we're taking new offers. Did they go back through the real estate company?
Bailey, do you want to take that question?
Do you want me to take
Did
that
they go
question?
back through the real estate companies?
I'm-
The offers?
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get everybody. Frank, you want one?
Shane, the commission accepted the cancellation on lots 8 and 9 Thursday. I don't have the date. No, Thursday the 17th was when the cancellation was accepted, and on Friday the 18th is when it was posted on the city's Facebook page. The lots went back active on the MLS. Both real estate brokerages involved have advertised, and I believe the city put it in the Tribune as well.
Okay. I was just curious.
Sorry. Wasn't that transaction supposed to happen immediately on a cash offer when those were initially sold?
Do you want to talk about that?
I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with talking about anything
Okay,
as long
well,
as it's
I'm
legal.
a representative for the city,
It's
not
legal
the
to
Lake
talk about that.
Advisory Committee, so I'm asking a city representative if you want to discuss this.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's legal, we don't have a city attorney here to tell us whether that's legal or not. So
Okay.
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't want to go to jail.
Well, I just came this morning not
Again.
knowing that I was going to talk. I just came to stay in the loop. But the only lot that was advertised as required to be a cash sale was the lot that was auctioned. These purchases were never a cash sale. That's never how the contract was filled out. There was some confusion there, it seems, but this was never a cash sale. This was a loan. It was pre-approved with a local bank, and the encroachment caused an issue.
I thought at that city council meeting that it was presented as there were two cash offers.
I will agree with Bailey that we reviewed the tape, and this one was not a cash offer that we could see on the video. The one that Bailey's talking.
Nor the written contract. The written contract. It was listed as a loan the entire time. This one
Okay.
was never presented as a cash offer.
Okay, I would like to end discussion on this, and let's get back to what we're here for.
That's fine with me. You're running the meeting. You're the new president or whatever you are.
And I'm gonna Harold, if you happen to be on now, and Shane, I just emailed you the list that we're going to talk about, which is on the board here in the commission room.
Okay, so now Shane, you got your answers. The two at the front's been sold and paid for, and the two on the south end are still out there at this point. And like I said, we're going to review offers. It's on the agenda for Tuesday. Good?
Yep.
Okay. What we discussed at the meeting the other night was, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but we talked about the lake priorities, where the money that is going to come in will be spent. And when we first got this, as you remember at the meeting before, we've razzed our engineer pretty good, Jason Dickman, because he brought us in the $2.6 million deal that he drew up that wanted to do at the lake, and we just all agreed that was unaffordable and unattainable. So we're getting back to reality. And we said some of the things that we can do with the monies that we're going to receive is, number one priority is fix up that shelter house. We talked about guttering on it, paint, a restroom facility in it, make it ADA approachable, and we're number two, and of course with this, when we talked about the restroom, one of the things we'll have to accomplish is going to be water and sewer. Those are kind of important when you put a restroom in. So, but number two was electricity, lighting in the city parks to where there's less mischievous, activity. We have cameras to tape that kind of activity and make it safer for the people that want to use that as a camping area. We switched around and we put number 5 up here to number 3 for water and sewer because we knew we needed that for the shelter house. We've got some pretty good ideas. Originally, the quote that was estimated by the engineer was about $420,000 to get water alone to this area. And after some conversations I had with Rural Water, they have now got us an estimate that's closer to $65,000, somewhere in that neighborhood, to rock solid in, to bring the water up there. That's with a fire plug. That's with a meter or a hydrant and a meter. So that's going to be a lot more attainable than what we thought as well. We also have a sewer line that runs right by there. And I believe Doug is in discussions with the company from Nevada. I think they're from Nevada that originally put all the sewers in. So that's going to be a doable process as well. So we've got that. That's good news on that end of it. The number 4 item we came to was docks. We just decided we wanted to put some more docks in where they used to be. There was several docks around that once they dilapidated and fell apart, they just went away. And that would have been over on the west side, down there where they use the fishing area down by across from your place. There was a dock down in there. We wanted to put another dock down by the beach area to where when we do make that handicap accessible, they can make that dock as well handicap accessible to where people could come down and enjoy watching their kids, grandkids swim and safety reasons. So 4 docks were discussed, and I think we were replacing the one back by you, Tom. That dock back there is in pretty bad disrepair at the loading ramp at the very south end on the east side. Restrooms, that kind of went with the shelter house because they talked about possibly building a whole separate restroom shower house out towards the middle to where it would, and this is in the park on the west side, to where it would be more accessible for every camper to come from all directions to use that shower house and restroom facility. Parking, just pretty much on the beach, extending the parking out, putting a little more gravel in to where people could park and not get in the mud and tear the park up. And then the boat trailer parking, originally they had talked about moving it up out of the cutout up on top of the hill where the brush pile is. And, that was going to be, do you understand what I'm talking about on the parking? The parking, when you drop your boat off, right now you drop it off here right here at the loading ramp, and everybody parks their boats and trailers right here and in through here. And they thought about moving it up in here, and that was going to be another big ticket item up in the $500,000 range to come in there and take all that off and put gravel or concrete or asphalt on it. And in my mind, it's always worked right here where it is. It's just always been a muddy, mucky mess to where people couldn't get in and out. So we were working with the county, and the county is going to supply us with the gravel in order to put in there at a minimal cost. So we're going to re-gravel all that area. And campfire areas, or camping areas. Camping areas was discussed primitive as well as camper areas, like your big motor homes or pull behind campers. And the primitive, basically what we want to do is add more dirt and make it more accessible to the water. Doug and them have started cutting a few trees down by the water in the part where you go around to the loading ramp. And I would like to see more riprap, big 6-inch stone lined around there to retain our shoreline and make it more accessible to where people can get down to the water in those areas as well. So adding dirt for tents, pop-ups, whatever, over the stone to make it where we can grow some grass, put some gravel areas in, and make it more of a dedicated area to where your tent would go, rather than just sporadic all over the place. Make it to where you would know where you're supposed to camp. So that's what we discussed on it. Yeah, yep. And that would also allow Tom or whatever caretaker we have around collecting the funds to say you're in lot number 16, you owe $20.
The commission talked about a picnic table at each
Yeah.
camp spot.
Yep. Picnic tables.
And I know we talked about the RV pads the other night too, and someone said cement, but I've had some feedback saying, hey, gravel RV pads are much more affordable and work pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's going to be, and Tim would probably agree with this. We'll have to, count our money as we go.
Yeah.
And then we'll see whether we can afford concrete camping spots or gravel. Ideally, I would just throw a number out. I'm thinking, 20 by 40, 20 foot wide by 40 foot long, somewhere in that neighborhood for a concrete camping spot, 800 square feet or whatever to start out with and see what we got there. And we talked about starting off with 5 or 10 or 6. There was all kinds of numbers thrown around. Frank?
So,
As you come to the podium, please state your name.
that's going to do. Thank you. This is Frank Halsey as Parks Advisory Board liaison. I sat in on a couple meetings and we talked about the camping areas, and Jason Dickman, the engineer, was going to get ballpark estimates on what it would cost to put those in. Did he ever do that? Or was that part of the whole 2.6?
That was all part of the 2.6.
So he didn't break that out specifically.
Well, it's broke out. It's broke out. As far as the lake goes, there was nothing to do with Gun Park or anything like that in there, but it was all broke out in different areas from gravel for boat parking to camping spots. But the numbers were so inflated, it was not even worth a read. It was.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Do I still have to stand up here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can Doug talk? State your name.
Douglas Guns. I work for the city of Fort Scott. So I've been talking with Jason Dickman, and what we have done is take the initial plan and scaled it back that matches this list, so that we can take the overall grand scheme and break it down into phases. And he's working on putting together new numbers with this list. So the tent camping has been sized down from, I think it was originally he had 60 or 70 campsites. Yeah, 70,
Yes.
down to a more manageable 10 slots. Did a little better, gridding it out and with a little driveway and, making it where it was gridded out and easily, accessible for campers. And then we've sized down the RV parking to 6 slots. And he's working up an estimate for those. He had them at the last meeting, but he didn't have them, finished up as far as, he had a couple more prices and things from different vendors that he wanted to get the numbers, sharpen his pencil this time so that we didn't have 2.6 again.
Yeah, and now that you remind me of that, that was one of the things. It was 70 primitive campsites, and it wasn't just primitive campsites, but each one of them had a hydrant.
Right.
I mean, everything was.
So,
I've been to a lot of primitive camping and didn't have water hydrant.
So one of the things I did was go back to Jason. We sized down the overall project into more manageable projects. Instead of having 70 frost-free hydrants, we have one in a centralized location. We changed the water loop so that it better access all the different facilities, things like that. And he's working on that. He has a new aerial, design of it so that I can bring it to you guys at the next meeting and bring it to the commission once he's finished with it. But that's all in the works, and it is,
We do have a meeting scheduled for March 26th, 1 month from today.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I think I'd like to hold that meeting so we can continue to talk about this. And just thank you for all you're doing, Doug. Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Hey, Nancy.
Yes. Yes.
It sounds like there's been a lot of work done, which is great. We had to reschedule our next meeting from a month to today, partly because of Nancy leaving. But I've got my entire subcommittee coming to that. And I told them we were going to discuss the city engineer's estimate. It sounds like we don't need to do that anymore, correct?
Well, I'm hopeful that we'll have new estimates by that time, Shane. And I think it would be very helpful to have them here to go over those together. There is a lot of expertise on your committee as it relates to construction. So, yeah, let's leave it as is, if you don't mind.
Yep, that's fine. Just want to make sure.
Okay, So back to what the commission has asked us to do. I don't know, did those of you in the audience get a copy of these? Anyone not get one?
Richard Clark. Do we really want a grinder pump? Are we going to set up a grinder pump for the sewer out there? Do we want people coming in and dropping whatever in the sewer line and screwing up the grinder pump? I mean, we used to have two campers, one big one. Now we got rid of it, got a smaller one. We had the totes that you drain it in, and then you take it and dump it wherever the dump is. I think the fairgrounds, there's a dump site, or you provide a dump site there. But I'm not sure we want a grinder pump out there. And plus, that's going to cost a lot more to run sewer lines. I just want you to consider that.
All right, appreciate that. I think the discussion surrounded a dump station, did it not? But that was way later in the phase of things.
Well, yeah, and to that point, Richard, I mean, you're right. You wouldn't be able to control what people dumped in there. But there again, if you make a public restroom, I mean, that's something you guys need to consider. If you make a public restroom, you're going to be susceptible to every bit of that, not just a dumping station for the campers. I mean, I would think that would be less volatile from being the porta potty guy than what's going to be dumped in your restroom, because
Some places we go to, they have pumper trucks that come around and pump out.
yeah, that would be great. But here's the thing, Richard. We just made it basically a law that you cannot do that on Fort Scott Lake. You have to be hooked up to a sewer pump. You have to do this. You have to do that. So if the city of Fort Scott goes out there and puts a holding tank in, it probably would not look good. So
You can really do anything you want.
you could, but I probably not would not be. I would not think that would be a smart move for us to
I
force
agree.
our hand on everyone else and then do something different.
Thank you, Richard. That's a very good comment. Something to consider for sure.
Hey Nancy, on these drawings they've given us,
Uh-huh.
it shows multiple 4 lots. Which 4 lots are they talking about here?
Well, that's part of what they've asked us to consider if we think selling these lots is a good idea. I want to kind of present what I heard. I think, and please, Mayor, jump in if
Sure.
if it's different. And I think it was, well, I'm not sure who it was, but says that these projects that we're looking at just right here, these projects may, we don't know, end up being more money, the cost of which exceeds the sale of the 4 lots currently. So I think it was Commissioner Wells. He said it would be good to have lots identified for sale in case we need to raise more money to finish the project. Now, opposed to that, Commissioner Van Hookey, I think, would like to see, I think I heard him say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, that he would like to see the money or some of the money from the sale of these lots go to some items that need to be done in town. So I think we may have a discrepancy on the board. I know my thought process. Yeah, I might be agreeable to selling some more lots if we had to, and if we needed the money to pull off this. But I'm pretty much opposed to just selling lots to raise capital for tax-based improvements or improvements that have always heretofore been done with taxes. That's just my opinion. But I really wanted some discussion either from the audience on how you feel about it. That's why we're here. Good open discussion.
Hold down on the button.
Test. Okay, this is Frank Halsey again. I'm not up here as liaison
Hi,
from the
Frank.
Parks Advisory Board this time. I'm up here as a property owner out there.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the 7 lots that are on page 3. in that cove, and which is the cove that I own property in. And I can tell you that cove, and there's 7 lots laid out there. That cove is not wide enough to accommodate docks on both sides of that cove. It's just not feasible. And the water at the back of that cove on dry years will be, you can walk across the back of that cove. So those properties at the back, particularly the back 4, any prospective buyer would need to be advised of that, I think, unless we're planning on dredging that cove, which I doubt we're doing. So just my 2 cents.
Very good point. Thank you.
And I would also add, I agree with Nancy that selling just to raise capital, I bought out there 25 years ago, and the place has changed dramatically. It used to be a really nice, quiet, and I understand change is necessary. But the more properties we add, the more crowded it gets.
Thank you, Frank.
I'm Ed Allen. I'm a Lake resident, more full-time than part-time, come from Kansas City. And selling the 4 lots, I noticed that one of them it looks like there's a line in between the resident's house. And is anybody going to make her aware that there's a possibility of that being sold on the first page?
Yeah, go ahead,
there?
Mayor.
Yeah. Okay. So
How will that be addressed?
do what?
How will that be addressed?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And so everybody knows what's going on here. These meetings are available on YouTube, and you can watch them at any time. And basically, I believe what happened, and probably not verbatim, but I think Josh Jones brought it up first. Am I correct, Tim, about selling additional lots? And then we just started discussing, where we had drove around and looked. Josh and I had took a look at some places out there, and this is all in the very, very beginning of conversation on this. We didn't know, let's say, for instance, on the south lots on the east side, where the property lines was. We had it surveyed. We find out there's encroachments on it. So we said we're going to sell those lots with the encroachments on it. The buyer needs to be aware that there are encroachments on this property because that's what we were advised to do. Once we went back, did you want to say something, Bailey? Okay, I thought you wanted to say something. And like I said, you can watch this on the video if you'd like. But once we were made aware, once we started talking about these lots for sale, we were given the aerial view or whatever, the cutout on it, and we noticed that like you said, that west house on that lane the house is on the lot. So that's a whole different monster there. And we said that would be something that would have to be legal-wise addressed and has nothing to do with the seller. We would not sell something like that right there.
Okay. Because somehow she needs to be made aware of this.
Absolutely.
Another thing I have is that we just seem to want to sell lots for kind of, you look at the rate, sometimes the cash cow, I believe. I don't really like that because, we're going to use some of the money that needs to stay at the lake if we're going to sell lots out there. And the way it's becoming, it's almost like you want to turn it into the Ozarks. And I bought property out here. My family's been coming here for over 50 years because of the lake. It's a beautiful lake. It's a hidden gem. And the more that we put it into the public eye from Kansas City on, that's where I'm from. I just think that it's going to turn into the Ozarks. And if I wanted to buy on the Ozarks or live on the Ozarks, that's where I would buy.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's why we're here today to discuss that, right?
Absolutely.
So, and the board will take these thoughts and views into consideration, and I don't think anybody, even on the commission, wants to turn it into a cash cow. The reason that this whole discussion came up was probably through discussion here on this board and through discussion as well as myself on the city commission, that these were lots on the east side that were not being utilized. They had structures on them that they were falling down, they were in disrepair, and we're going to have to make a decision: are we going to fix these structures up that no one uses, or are we going to sell these lots? We split them. We took the money, and I fought really hard against the commission, and it took me several meetings, several months to keep that money at the lake, because I said, if you're going to sell lake property, you need to fix up your property. There's not a lot of crappy properties on this lake, but the ones that are owned by the city. So we need to fix up our parks. We need to have amenities there that people can enjoy. We need to put all this money that comes from the sale of these properties into that lake.
All right, so we're gonna sell 8 lots total. We've sold 4 on the other side that were the shelters, correct?
We've sold 2.
2, so you have a total of 4 on the east side.
Yes, that are for sale right now.
Possibly sell 4 on the west side.
Possibly.
Okay. Once those go through, is that gonna be the end of selling? Because it's what I think we need to evaluate is our traffic, the traffic on the lake, and erosion. And that is a major concern. Because you've been on the lake, you know that every time we put something in and the erosion from the waves, we get bigger and bigger boats. I just think we need to really evaluate, sit back and take a 3 to 5 year hiatus on the selling of the 4 lots, 8 lots total, and campgrounds, and kind of see where our traffic flow is at that time.
Right. And I can appreciate your thoughts. I would probably tend to go with, when you're talking about erosion and boat traffic and, things like that, which are a concern, a lot of property owners have taken care of their own erosion by different methods of rock walls and things like that. The city has not taken advantage of erosion walls, and we want to do some of that as well, which has nothing to do with the sale of lake properties. That'll be to do with protecting our water. That'll be to do with our city money, in my opinion. But when you speak of that, that's one of the age-old arguments to me is, if you have more people living out there, there's going to be more boats. Right now, you can be from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and you can come in here to the Walmart, or you can go to the golf course and you can buy a lake permit, and you can go out there every day, all day long. It doesn't matter. So, and typically what you find on any given weekend is the majority of the boats, in my opinion, are not lake residents. The lake residents have their pontoons, and they go around and tool and wave at you and everything. It's great. I love it. Wouldn't have it any other way. But the people that are out there enjoying that lake are the citizens of Fort Scott, Bronson, Pittsburgh, Nevada. They're coming in here. So the amount of homes on that lake are not going to, in my opinion, be affected as much as there's other ways to control the boats. Whether you limit the amount of boats on the water. I know on big weekends, I'm going to say 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, there's probably 12 boats, 14 boats on a good day, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I think Tom could probably answer that better. Tom, what do you think?
Okay. So I guess that's my last thought on that, is the amount of homes on that lake. Is that where you get your boat numbers from?
Well, as we discussed in the commission meeting or work session the other night, we really don't know what the addition of the primitive camping and the RV sites, what that's going to do to surface traffic on the water. I mean, if I go camping, I take a boat. If I go camping on a lake, I take a boat. So I think what Ed's saying here is that maybe we just need to take a step back and wait and see what this and the sale of the 4 lots is going to do to the surface traffic on the lake.
And I think a 3 to 5 year time frame is a legitimate time frame to see where we're at that point.
Ed, have you walking up and down the roads too there quite often?
Yeah.
Do you notice we put a new road in, I think, last summer, the year before? It's already deteriorating in several spots now, and so running concrete ready-mix trucks up and down that thing, whatever we're going to do is just going to make it deteriorate worse too.
Yeah, it is.
You
Are
did
you
get
guys
it.
looking at me to disagree with that?
No,
Right.
I was talking to him.
Because
I
I'm
might
not
say
going to disagree with that. But
at least you got a new road.
But again, that being said,
We know you're going to disagree.
well, I'm just saying that's a county road. Call your county commissioners, and I know roads are going to get deteriorated the more development that happens in an area. But I mean, I like development. I'm not going to be against development. I like when people build new houses in our community. I like when people take advantage of our community. I'm not trying to keep people away from our community. So absolutely. Absolutely. But I also, I mean, yeah, I can appreciate your thoughts.
Are these lots
Thank you, Ed.
buildable? I mean, can you actually build on these?
I don't know.
lots?
We're just now starting this discussion.
Okay.
We haven't even had them surveyed yet.
Right. Okay. Because I mean, there's a number of them I'm looking on here. And like Frank said, it's that water's shallow at best. I
There
mean, on
isn't
the,
water. There isn't even water there.
yeah,
in the
I don't even
last
know
two,
how you'd get a
you
boat
know.
down there.
Well,
I
and,
mean,
and
right
it-
here's where I go hunting. Well, I'm not going to say where else because I don't want to give up my spot. But
right. And again, can you get can you get on the water from your lot out there?
Yeah, if you really tried.
You got to get a run at it. What my point is, a lot of people want a spot. When I was a young kid, I wanted a spot right outside of town on a paved road with water and sewer. So it's not always going to be about. I mean, we have a lot of people that live at the lake that don't go skiing every weekend. I think one of them's getting ready to talk.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I think.
Could you identify
Dean
yourself? Name?
Your name?
Oh, Don Tucker. Okay, I think Dean just hit on one of the things that was mentioned over here. That those two lots when you first go in, you'd have to have a canoe. You couldn't put a boat in there. It's way too shallow, and what I'm looking at is a line that cuts right through this woman's house. I know the guy that owns that, and I would suspect that the city would probably spend almost all the money they have up there on lawyer fees if they tried to cut his house in half and do that. So you might be able to put one lot over there, but I wouldn't think it would be too advisable to try to put two and cut the guy's house in half.
Well, and let's keep in mind, when we mentioned this, it was nothing more than people driving out by there and looking at it, coming up with ideas. And then we got an aerial view as to where the city's property lines laid. And when we found out where they laid, that's where this discussion's coming in. So there's not been any action to say that we're taking and cutting somebody's house in half or anything like that. So.
Thank you.
would you get the half bath? Would you get the half bath?
That's right. What half you want?
This is Frank Halsey again. And I guess I'd like to get a better understanding. The city at one time said they were going to sell 9 lots. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And
We did not. Actually, what we said we're going to sell 4 lots. And then when the engineer went out there, they said, while you're here, under city management, not city commission, it wasn't a vote, the city management said, go ahead and mark off 9 lots while you're here. And continued 5 more past. Is that right? Yeah, 5 more past to the north too.
so is it my understanding that what we're seeing plotted out here on these aerial views are just the lots that are available that the city owns, and they're not really plotted. They are plotted, but they're not necessarily identified for sale, and you're trying to decide.
Correct.
Are we going to sell
Do we?
more?
Yes.
And if
Absolutely.
so, which ones are we going to sell? Because to John's point and the points that have been made about the water access and all that, just because it's identified on here doesn't mean that it's
Correct.
Absolutely.
available for sale.
I mean,
Especially the one with the house that probably won't be on the list.
Right.
if we had all the money in the world, it would be nice just to know what property the city of Fort Scott owned and where the property lines were.
The pins.
Right.
Yeah.
The pins and all that, because it is nice knowing that, and there would be a lot less encroachments if
Well,
possibly.
To your point about, I'm sorry, Nancy, go ahead.
No, as I mentioned at the meeting the other night, I think the founding fathers of the lake, and I think maybe your grandfather was part of that. I think they thought ahead and they developed only a number of lots at the lake that they felt the lake could handle when the lake was developed. I think there's a reason these lots everywhere, every city-owned piece of property wasn't developed into a lot at that time.
I would also add to your point, Kevin, about the traffic on the lake. one of the things that's happened, and you're a lake user, you understand this, when it was decided to move the buoys further out away from the docks, that reduced the usable space on the lake and made it more crowded. Now, I wasn't necessarily in favor of moving it that far away, but my dock is not on the open water. It doesn't take the beating that everybody else's does, so I understand that. But you have to take that into consideration as well. You've limited the usage size for particularly in the ski area.
Yeah, there has to be a happy medium there somewhere.
We've got discussion going on right now as well, and it's just discussion. So let everybody know that up front. But moving the buoys back to a more reasonable area, because it did choke it down a lot, especially when you get down to the south end. I mean, it's tough, and in my opinion, just my humble opinion, it's made it a little more dangerous.
Yes, sir.
Because now you've got people that are off their tubes, off their skis, whatever. And you've got to navigate really quick around them and pay attention.
Just so everyone knows, the buoys were moved out to accommodate at the recommendation of wake boats owners, so that because there was a lot of discussion about whether or not we even have wake boats on the lake, and we're trying to accommodate those people who do want to do that activity by moving the buoys out so that the waves could dissipate as they came toward docks and shore.
Yeah, that's correct. And I just think there has to be a happy medium. I agree with you, Skitch, that it has added a level of danger, with it being that close. You have a lot of jet skis out there. You have a lot of actually inexperienced jet skiers out there. You have wakeboards out there. You have tubers out there.
Well,
all active in that space.
And again, not to pick on wake boats, Tom, or whatever we decide to do, we can monitor that. And if you see somebody doing the 5 mile an hour crawl with it's putting off the big curls, if we decide that that's not going to be something we do, then those people are warned and so on. But we got to remember that this lake was built for recreation. It was built for water storage, and we use it as recreation. And I've had a lot of people tell me, if you're worried about waves, you should move in town. If you're worried about waves, you shouldn't have a house at the lake. So I get that side of it too.
I'm going to table this, and I have added it to the agenda for the March 26th meeting so we can discuss the buoy situation.
Just FYI, in Kansas statute, 14, if you use a piece of land for 14 years, it's yours. People can't.
I'm sorry, would you state your name, please?
Richard Clark.
Okay.
Kansas statute, 14 years. The property, you can't restrict them from use. So I don't know how long that they just had that house on that piece of land, but so it's hers, basically.
Well,
I mean, you can take it to court and you can fight it and all that, but
yeah, I don't think we intend to do that at all.
I say I don't even.
Nobody's recommending that.
And I don't want to promote that be the case, because then what's going to stop people from going out and building stuff on city property right now and saying, if nobody notices, 14 years is good stuff.
yeah, but I just wanted to point that out. But,
Well, that's fine.
And on the holiday weekends, I'd like to have somebody out there full time controlling stuff, because I've seen some crazy shit going on out there that's dangerous. And so if we sell more lots, I think during the weekends we may have to have more people out there. It's going to cost the city more.
He gets to drink it.
Bald-headed guy.
So anyway, that's also been discussed as well. And one of our thoughts is that we're tossing around is we employ an SRO officer at the school through the school year. And I think the city of Fort Scott, I believe, I can't say for sure, but I believe we pay for that 100%. Would you know that? Do you guys take 15% or something minimal?
I don't think it's fully funded, but
It's close. So we talked about that SRO officer once school's in.
there's only one SRO officer is all we currently have.
So we talked about taking that SRO officer once his duties are done at the school year and having him help Tom, especially on the busy weekends. I mean, we need to have somebody out there on the busy weekends no matter what helping Tom.
Bailey Lyons, I just want to clarify. You're saying the city said that they were going to sell that lot with the encroachment. Just clarification.
Which lot with the encroachment?
I believe, unless I miss, and I'm just asking for clarification. Maybe I
You could watch.
misheard.
You could.
Kevin.
I would say you could watch the video.
Okay.
I'd like to understand what she's referring to.
Yeah, go ahead.
You just said that the city advertised that they were going to sell lot 8 with the encroachment. The city said that. Did I misunderstand that? No, originally.
I said you could watch the video. Yeah.
No, what did you just say a couple minutes ago is what I'm asking for clarification.
You can
on.
watch that video too, but from
Okay.
from.
Well.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm the city's real estate agent on that lot, so I just wanted clarification on what I heard there, and I also wanted to clarify, and maybe this needs to be discussed in a city commission meeting. I'm not trying to override the Lake Advisory Board meeting, but I'm curious if that's what the title company and all the realtors involved in the sale of the lake lot advised.
I can't speak for the title company or the. Do you want me to finish?
Sure.
I can't speak for the title company or the realtors at all. That's not what I do.
No, I asked if the city was advised by the title company and the realtors.
This is a discussion. Was the city advised by the title company and the realtors there was an encroachment?
No.
We knew there was an encroachment.
With the encroachment. I was just asking for. We can continue
I-
that in the city
I would
meeting, but
appreciate
I was asking
it.
for
Yeah.
clarification on what you just
I don't know
said
what's
a few
going on
minutes
here.
ago.
Time out. I would appreciate it if you would move this discussion to a city commission meeting, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Good question.
Okay.
Can we discuss a little further on these?
Yeah. Topic of concern?
Yes.
Yeah.
My thought here is I'm not sure why we're in such a hurry to sell more lots when we haven't got the 2 sold that we initially thought we were going to sell. So we've got 2 still available of the 4. My thought would be let's get those other 2 sold. Wait time period, see how that works out for our city and our lake, and then if we need to sell more lots or want to sell more lots at that point, that's when we move forward.
Would we need to make a recommendation back to the commission? Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
I make a motion to wait to do anything selling additional lots until these initial 4 lots have sold. I don't know if I should make a time period in this motion.
Do you want to, as we discuss your motion, do you want to consider waiting and seeing what sort of?
Well, I feel like there needs to be a time period because at least a year or 2 because the houses that get built on this or
Yeah, we'll
whatever
take a look.
happens.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah.
So if we would wait possibly 2 years after the sale.
Do I hear a second? Let me, Rachel, would you mind reading that back to the
That was a
best?
lot of motion, huh?
That was a lot of motion.
Sorry about that.
My question is, are you discussing the current lots that are for sale, waiting for those to finish selling before we open up the 4 others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so to wait until we're waiting for the current lots to sell before any additional lots are to be sold, and possibly waiting 2 years before we sell additional lots.
Sure.
Is that what the understanding the motion?
That's what I came up with,
Okay.
yes. But let's have a discussion here.
Let's have a second on the motion, then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
Anyone? I'll second the motion. Okay, now the motion's up for discussion. Thank you, Shane. Shane seconded. Okay, good.
My understanding of wanting to listen to the commissioners meeting was to sell the other 4 lots, but put that money back so that they would have money to match grants that they were going to apply for to finish up some of the lots.
Say it again, please.
There you go.
My understanding, listening to the meeting, was that they wanted to sell the additional lots and put that money aside in a fund so that when they decided to move forward with other improvements, they could get grants and they would have money in the bank to match those grants. Was my understanding at the meeting.
Why can't we get grant money match with the initial 4 that we're going to sell?
Well, we're going to track the expenditure of it as we go through these projects. And Doug, yeah, I think you can help us with the grant things that,
I
Sure,
think to Deb's point, I think the city has committed that the first four, overheard in a commission meeting, the first four that the lake would get to keep 100% of those funds. And so the discussion about additional sale is for additional funds for the city use since they gave up the initial sale, is my understanding.
Okay,
Thank you for that clarification.
clarifying.
So this is Shane. Sorry, I get bits and pieces. So the sale of any lots above and beyond the first four would go to whatever the city wants to spend the money on. Is that what I'm hearing? Not necessarily at the lake.
That's still up for discussion as well. Like I said, it's all discussion at this point. And you're going to have some commissioners that would like to take money some places, and you'll have other commissioners that would like to leave it in other places. And that's what we had before. We had several commissioners that said, we want to bring that money to town. And you had other commissioners that said, we want to leave that money at the lake. So we don't know what's going to happen at that point in time, but that was brought by a commissioner. And again, you can watch all of this on YouTube. And I highly ask people to watch that because then you know the facts and the figures. So stay tuned.
Will that be determined prior to putting those lots up for sale? Or will this be sell them and we'll figure it out later?
I'd have to rub my magic crystal ball to let you know that. I don't know how that would go. I'm just one little piece of the puzzle.
I think it needs to be clearly stated
before the lots are sold.
before the lots are sold,
I would agree with you. I would like that.
and to be reassured that that money will.
I've worked really, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows that, but I've worked really hard and fought really hard for the lake. So
I can vouch for that. Just
Agreed.
Yeah. This is Shane and Kevin. I know you've fought hard for the lake's behalf, but I'll go back to what I feel like this lake board was originally created, was when the city was just going to go out there and whimsically sell 17 acres right next to the lake to whoever wanted to buy it.
and Shane, I'll say you're right, Shane.
The city has not shown over the history that they've been capable and willing to make good decisions for the lake. They make what they feel are good decisions for the city.
And you're talking about in the last couple years, or are you talking about 20s of years?
I'm talking, 20 years, meaning.
Yes, and we're now.
I could see the city decide, let's just sell, use all that money to do whatever we want, wherever we want, which they're totally inclined and able to do, but they're not going to be doing what's best for the lake.
And I will agree with you, Shane, and that falls in different hands every 2 years. When you elect a new board, every 2 years, that's a very big possibility that somebody won't be willing to stand in there and discuss these things and do the right thing. So that's a very big possibility. I mean, in 2 years, you can get some commissioners go in there. And I mean, let me just tell you, the commission before, it was brought to the attention that we were going to sell 17 acres off the east side of the lake. Won money, sealed bid, done deal. And I had to go in there and fight hard against that. And we retained that 17 acres over there. So it didn't happen. So I'm telling you, the best thing anyone can do is be involved in their local politics like what you guys are doing right now.
okay,
But no, I'm still not listening to anything you say, Shane.
Doug's going to just explain a little bit about what grants might we're trying to hold this meeting under an hour. So in a nutshell.
All right. So what I brought before the commission was to help offset some of the costs for some of these projects. There are grants available. Now, grants are very specific and pay for certain things. So the idea is to maximize the dollars that are spent at the lake for certain projects. We can go out for grants, depending on the project, what it's for. Like I said, grants are very specific. So most of the grants are matching grants. So whether they're 80-20, where the city pays 80% and the grants pay 20%, or a 50-50 match. But to go out for these grants, we would have to set aside that money for a project. So say we designate a project like for the shelter house. We're going to rebuild the shelter house. We're going to put bathrooms in it. We get estimates and quotes and go through the process. And it's just ballpark, imaginary number. Say it's $500,000. we apply for a grant. We have to match the $250,000 for the city's money. So we have to set that aside until the grant is awarded. And we may or may not get grants. Just because you apply for a grant doesn't mean that you're awarded the grant. And so we could set money aside, the grant's awarded, and we don't get it, so then the project doesn't get done. So it's all on how, what grants we go for, how we go for them, what projects they are. So it's not a guarantee, but you do have to have the match set aside and not spent just in case the grant is awarded.
All right.
Clear as mud.
You bet.
Thank you, Doug,
You're welcome.
as always.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Dan.
Well said, well spoken.
So are we ready to move on?
Are we ready to vote on the motion?
I can't vote.
Do you want to read it back to us, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna need to hear that.
One
again.
more time.
Me too.
The motion is to wait,
To
recommend, should I say, yes, to the commission to wait and sell additional lots until the current lots are sold, and possibly a 2-year wait before that is done, before we sell additional lots. Kind of.
That's the motion.
Is that correct?
That's
Yes,
correct.
that's the recommendation. Yes.
All right. You want to?
I have a second with Shane Wood.
Yes. All right. Let's call the roll.
Do we actually call, or do you want to just do?
I'm going to call the roll on this
Okay.
one. Dean Stryler,
Nay.
Shane Wood,
Yay.
Deb McCoy. Yes. Yes. Harold's not here. Dave Stewart,
Yes.
Nancy Mays. Yes.
Yeah, Harold is here.
Oh, well, hi, Harold. Harold, did you clearly hear the motion?
I vote yes.
Thank you, Harold. Sorry, I didn't hear you join the call. My bad. Okay, our last order of business is discussion of letters of interest to replace Nancy Van Etten. Totally impossible, but we do have a couple of. And you have another meeting, so Phil, this is our last.
Well, I got a 9 o'clock meeting over on the east side of town at the fire station. We've got some grant money that we're going to be available to spend over there on the east side of town. So
Yay.
maybe they'll be mad at me too. Who knows?
Do we happen to have either Shane Johnson? Is that right?
There's behind the
Yeah, got it. Shane Johnson or Matt? Okay. We could have. We normally do these votes by written. We can't do that.
No.
Okay. We don't. We shouldn't be doing that. All right. We have two persons interested. We did have a third, but the third person is a resident of the west side, and it was inadvertently advertised that this opening was for a resident of the west side, but it is for a full-time resident east side. That's Nancy's replacement in position on the board. So I have two nominees here. Shane Johnson. My name is Shane Johnson, and I live at 746 195th. I would like to be considered for the open position of the Lake Advisory Board.
Do you guys know who Shane is?
I do not. If someone could give us background, that would be good.
Yeah, I will tell you. He's actually the resident that you'll see walking up and down the road with his dogs. Every once in a while, he drives that red Ford truck, four-wheel drive, and he lives in Ann Colum's old house. That little house there that I rent to him.
Down below.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very big no. He is a great guy. It's Angela's husband, if you recall Angela and him. So.
Oh, I'm so.
No, I rent to him. Is that okay? Oh yeah, he's not an owner, but he's a full-time resident. He lives there full-time.
Full-time resident, not an owner. That's
right.
Yeah. Okay. Secondly, we have Matt Knoll. Diane, I am interested in serving on the Lake Advisory Board as a full-time resident on the east side. Matt Knoll. So do we have any motion?
Matt Knoll's a good guy too, just for the record.
What was that?
He said Matt Knoll's a good guy too, just for the record. Any nominations from the floor? The committee?
I don't know either of them.
I move that we accept the Matt Knoll.
I have a motion to recommend Matt Knoll to the City Commission as a replacement member.
I'll second that.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
All right. We've completed our agenda and our order of business for today. I want to thank the audience for your participation. It's always great to see members of the lake community come together in things that are near and dear to our heart. And I appreciate it very much. And I appreciate this committee. Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
All in favor? Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Anthony. I said thank you. I'm signing out.